And I looked, and lo, a Lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts, and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Yahushua. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle, and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs.
And we have more news coming in. Again, it's got to do with the tensions in West Asia. Iran's big conditions to open the Strait of Hormuz, which has since been closed. Expel US envoys, condition for Europe and for Gulf. Iran now mounting pressure on the Gulf and European nations. Iran media is reporting that Gulf Europe must expel US-Israeli envoys. IRGC has said any Arab or European country that expels Israeli and American ambassadors from its territory will have complete freedom and authority to pass through the Strait of Hormuz starting tomorrow. That's a big condition that has been put forth by Iran, clearly to build pressure. Gulf and countries must be expelling Israeli and American ambassadors from its territory. That's a demand that has been made by Iran at this point in time. If you do so, then you would be allowed to use the Strait of Hormuz, says Iran in a condition that it has laid down now. Iran mounting pressure on Gulf and European nations. The media there reporting on how the government there wants Gulf and Europe to expel US and Israeli envoys. So if you want to use the Strait of Hormuz, then you must expel all of your American and Israeli envoys. It's a condition that has been laid down by Iran. Now remember, the Strait of Hormuz is extremely crucial, and that's the reason why this condition that has been put by Iran may be something that countries that are facing the brunt of the war could be looking at or could be considering.
Not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply, and if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level.
This is a war imposed on us, and what we are doing is only defending ourselves. So I don't think, talking with Americans anymore would be, on our agenda anymore.
Day 11 of the US-Israel war in Iran, and the stakes just jumped dramatically. As American and Israeli strikes intensify, Tehran says it is changing the rules of the missile war. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps now vows to launch only monster missiles, warheads weighing at least 1 ton, designed to overwhelm defenses. Here's a report.
Air war is intensifying. American bombers and Israeli jets continue pounding Iranian targets. Military facilities, launch sites and command centers have been hit as the conflict enters its 11th day. Israel warns that the attacks on Iran are set to increase.
Our aspiration is to enable the Iranian people to cast off the yoke of tyranny. Ultimately, it is up to them. But there is no doubt that through the actions taken so far, we are breaking their bones, and there is more to come.
My friends, the people of Iran, the goal of these attacks is neither freedom nor democracy. Their goal is the partition of Iran. They want Iran torn into pieces and weakened. Let us not forget these words.
But as the bombs fall, Iran is signaling a dangerous retaliation, not with more missiles, but with heavier ones. Iranian forces say they have launched 33 waves of aerial attacks as part of their retaliatory action named Operation True Promise 4. Iran's powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps made a striking announcement. Brigadier General Majid Musavi declared that from now on, no missile with a warhead weighing less than 1 ton will be launched. That means every missile fired will carry double the explosive force used in earlier waves. Iran says it launched 10 Khyber Shikan missile rockets towards Tel Aviv and the US 5th Fleet base in Bahrain. Khyber Shikan missile is one of Iran's most advanced weapons, solid fuel, road mobile, launch ready within minutes. It can travel roughly 1,450 kilometers and descend at extreme speeds while maneuvering to evade interceptors. The missile is said to reach speeds exceeding 9,000 kilometers per hour. Until now, these missiles typically carried warheads weighing around 450 to 600 kilograms. Iran now says the payload will double to 1 metric ton. That single change dramatically alters the economics of the war. Intercepting ballistic missiles is already expensive. A single Patriot PAC-3 interceptor costs roughly $4 million. A third interceptor costs more than $12 million. Israel's Arrow 3 system cost several million per shot. Heavier warheads mean larger blast zones that forces defenders to fire more interceptors per incoming missile. More missiles intercepted, more money burned, and the consequences of a single miss become far greater. Analysts say Tehran is no longer choosing between missile quantity and destructive power. It is deploying both. Previous missile and drone barrages saw interception rates as high as 70 to 90%. But the real test begins now, because if every incoming missile carries twice the explosive weight, and even one that slips through, then that would change the battlefield instantly.
Let's take a closer look at the comments issued by Iran's Revolutionary Guard to President Trump's comment on the war ending soon. The statement says, our hands are open to expanding the war. Security will be for all and insecurity for all. We are the ones who will determine the end of the war. The statement goes on to say the regional equations and the future situation of the region are now in the hands of the Islamic Republic's armed forces, and that the American forces will not be the ones to end the war. For more on this, let's bring in Tawhid Asadi in Tehran. So Iran remaining very defiant there, Tawhid.
Yes, indeed. According to the statement that we heard, not just from the IRGC, but also when it comes to diplomatic sources and the Iranian foreign minister himself in particular, we hear this very strong message that the question of how war is going to be ended, when it's going to be ended, and how long it's going to be taking is something that Tehran says the question remains for it to answer, not for the Americans or the Israelis. And this is actually a strong message of defiance that we heard. Also, the Iranian armed forces are constantly saying that they are ready for a war of attrition, for a long-time confrontation, and there is this readiness militarily speaking in that regard. Also, we see as the reality on the ground that retaliatory strikes by IRGC, one wave after another, is continued, and they are coming every time with the strong messages, that the latest of which they said that they are using +1-ton warheads in the recent and next waves of their retaliatory strikes, which is quite indicative of the very fact that the situation looks far from any point of de-escalation. And also, related to that conversation, we had the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ismail Baghai, in his press conference yesterday to say that, quote-unquote, as long as military aggression continues, talking about anything other than crushing answer is not relevant. Iranians right now, we hear from different officials in Tehran, including the Supreme National Security Council, including the foreign minister, a spokesperson for the foreign ministry, the Iranian president. They're all saying that right now, as long as the aggressions, the attacks continue, talking about any negotiation or ceasefire is not going to be on the agenda. So they have sort of conditioned any potential de-escalation to halting of these strikes, which we have been witnessing up until the moment.
All right, Tawhid, let's find out the reaction, the Israeli in Ramallah.
Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ba Racha HaKodash, Kol Tapa Arath, Hawad Wahaloyim, Ratwatam Yatla, Alahayanawa, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ba Racha HaKodash. And what I just said in the Lashon Kodash, the Lashon Kodash being the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, or in other words, the true biblical Hebrew for holy tongue or language. And what I just said is, all glory, honor, and praises abundantly and continuously to our power, Yahweh, the true name of our Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls God, in the name of His only begotten Son, our Savior, our Messiah, our Deliverer, Yahweh Shai, HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls Jesus Christ, and, or in other words, through the Holy Spirit. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and respect to the brothers teaching and pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth. To the hopeful elect, the 144,000 and the 1/3, as well as the rest of the elect, scattered abroad amongst the heathen nations to the four corners of the earth, east, north, south, and west, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Ra'ib Tazadakwa coming back at you again, all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, with another lesson. Yahweh Ratzazah, Yahweh willing, is going to be edifying and encouraging for you Achim, brothers, and any Achwath, sisters, that may be listening and or watching. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is that this is part 9 in an ongoing lesson series, which you see part 6 and 8 on the screen. Part 7 was this past weekend's live altar teaching, which you see right there. And the answer to the title, okay, what this means for you, and just bear with me a brief second while I adjust, doing this lesson in my chariot. The answer to the title was given in part 1, which was not this past weekend's live altar teaching, but the week before that. And the answer, we could have went into more things, but I summarized it into just 2 things that it means for you, because those are the 2 things I wanted to focus on in the spirit. It means we're at the end of this age, the end of this kingdom, the end of the time of the Gentiles, bringing in Luke 21 to drive that point home. Okay. And did I pass it? I think I passed it. Yeah, here it is, 24. And they shall fall, the day is referring to us, the Israelites, the true Israelites, shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive. And that started in 70 AD, 66 to 73, the final 7 years of Daniel's 70 weeks. Okay. Daniel the ninth chapter, verses 24, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, that final week was 66 AD to 73 AD, which is a 7-year period. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why pagan Christianity has their end time eschatology all screwed up, because they think that that final week is in the future. They're calling that the 7-year tribulation, but they're absolutely and completely and totally screwed up on that. Okay. Daniel 9, 24 through 27 has already been completed. Okay, let me make sure I got that precept correct. The address, that is. Pretty sure it's Daniel 9, 24 through 27. Yep, there you go. The 70 weeks down to 27. That's the end of the chapter. Right, that was 66 AD to 73 AD. Okay, commonly referred to as 70 AD. So that's when this began, where Yahushua says here, and they shall fall, the day is us, the true Israelites, shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And that's where we are to this day, still yet this day, in the lands of our captivities, scattered to the 4 corners of the earth, east, north, south, and west, as I say in my opening greeting every lesson. Okay, so that's still the case today. And Yerushalayim, okay, which is a people before it's a place. Okay, it is a people and a place. But more than it's a place, it is a place. The land of Israel, the land of Jerusalem. It is a place. But more than it's a place, it's a people, first and foremost. So this is true in a manifold sense. It's talking about the land and it's talking about the people. Okay, and Yerushalayim shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, talking about the natural-born Gentiles, obviously, because there are 2 groups. If one of the groups is natural-born Gentiles, then what does that mean? That means that the other group has to be Israelites being referred to as Gentiles. And that's, of course, the case. So anytime you see the terms Gentiles, heathen, foreigners, or strangers in the scriptures, you have to always make sure you know which of the 2 groups it's talking about. Is it talking about the actual natural born of those categories, or is it talking about Israelites who are amongst them in a heathen, foreign, strange, Gentile state of mind? Because depending on which group it's talking about, it's going to totally change your understanding of the scriptures, and you want to make sure your understanding of the scriptures is correct. Okay, because anytime you see these terms, you got to make sure you know which group it's talking about. This is the natural born Gentiles. Okay, until this is what we came for. Until there's a time limit on what you read. Until when the thing that comes next happens, that's the end of that. And what comes after that? The kingdom of heaven. Hamalakwa Shol Shemayim. Okay, the kingdom of heaven. Until the times of the Gentiles, natural born Gentiles, be fulfilled. Meaning, in other words, the times when the heathen nations are in rulership. They got their time to shine. They take turns and all that, and they fight amongst each other, and some dominate the others. Whoever's ruling dominates the others. And the most what does it say? Okay. He who ruled the nations in anger, Isaiah the 14th chapter. Okay. That would be Esau, Edom, the biblical Edomites. They're the ones that have dominated the most, and they have oppressed all the other peoples on the earth more than any other nation has. And they've oppressed the Israelites greatest of all. Greatest of all. They've oppressed us, the Israelites, far more than any other nation that they've oppressed. And they've oppressed us worse than any other nation has when they were in rulership. Both of those to a very, very great degree. Okay. What was I getting ready to get? I was getting ready to get something. It slipped my mind. Okay. Because none of this was planned. So until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. I was going to get some, but it slipped my mind because I got into another point. But yeah, see, so when we get back over here and we say, what does this mean for you? It means, we'll get back over here. It means that we're at the end of the times of the Gentiles. That's what I was going to get. Barakatha Yahweh Shema Shah for bringing it back to me. Daniel 7. And like, let me see here. Don't remember the exact verse. There it is. And 9. I beheld till the thrones. What thrones? The thrones or kingdoms of the natural born heathen. That's what it's talking about. The times of the Gentiles. I beheld to the thrones, the time when the Gentiles would rule. Okay. Various different heathen nations ruling. Okay. Esau, Edom getting 3 times the rule. First as the Greeks, second as the Romans. And then as the Romans, they ruled. There was a Rome 1.0, and now we're in the revival of that Roman Empire, which is Rome 2.0. So they ruled as the Greeks once, they ruled as the Romans. Now it's twice. Okay. Once is ancient Rome. The second time is modern day Rome. 1 + 2 = 3. So they've had 3 opportunities to rule the earth. And each time they have done nothing but spread absolute and complete and total and utter wickedness all around the earth, starting with their rulership as the Greeks. And let's just touch on that real quick since these things are coming up in the spirit. I didn't mean to hit that. I meant to hit First Maccabees. I'm just going to show you that. They were first ruling as the Greeks. And you can read about them kicking off the Greek Empire here in First Maccabees. You got Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, right? And these are Edomites. Okay. And you can trace their lineage back to Esau. Okay. Everybody knows that everybody knew back then that the Greeks that were ruling were actually descendants of Esau. Everybody knew that. Okay. Now, they weren't the original Greeks. The original Greeks were Japhetic people. They conquered them and took them down and stood up in their place, like it says in Sirach, the 12th chapter, and also like it says in Micah 2:2. You can start at 1. Okay, this is what the Edomites do. This is what the devil do. Like it says in St. John 10:10. The thief cometh not before to steal, to kill, and destroy. That's what they do. Okay, they've done it to us, the greatest and the worst by far, not even close, but they do it. This is an equal opportunity devil here. Okay, and so these are the Edomites. And just to prove to you, several places in here, most of the time they're referred to as the Greeks. You see there at the end of verse 1, I'm not going to read the whole thing, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. So most of the time they're referred to as the Greeks. But occasionally in the books of Maccabees, I'm just going to show you, like over here, I think this is the first occasion, and there's several more, maybe 2 or 3 more places where it identifies them as who they truly are. And one of those places is here. I believe this is the first occasion. First Maccabees 4:61, and they set there a garrison, that they is us, because we were warring with them, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people, the Israelites, might have a defense against the Greeks. Yes, it's talking about the people who were standing up as the Greeks, but it's calling them by their true label, their true identity, their true nationality, which is Idumea. And this is not the only place. I'm not going to bother with it. That's my memories. This is enough. You already got it once. That's enough, right? But I'm pretty confident that there's like 1 or 2, maybe even 3 other places in the Maccabees where they're identified as Idumea. okay, which is the Greek way of saying Edom, Esau, Edom. Everybody knew they were the biblical Edomites, okay? So when we go back over here to, where was we? We were in 2nd Esdras. Where was I before that? I was getting ready to read you something. Salakia for my scatterbrain. End of a long day. End of a long day of work. Starting to get tired, starting to wind down. I was going to show you something else. What was it? Right. It was the first Maccabees. So let's just go right back there. First Maccabees. So this is the Greeks. And when they first got in power, the Edomites first got in power as the Greeks. This is what happened after Alexander. He conquered that region. Okay, established the Greek Empire. Okay, and he didn't have anybody else to fight. The Greek Empire was not worldwide, but he conquered everybody in that region. And he didn't have anybody else to fight, and he was lamenting over it. And then he got sick and he died. So it's verse 7. So Alexander, commonly referred to in secular history as Alexander the Great, reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule everyone in his place. And after his death, okay, after Alexander died, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And here's the point we came for. Because this is the first time they got in any power on any significant level. Okay, this is the first time they had any power on any level outside of their own nation. Okay, and what happened when they first got in power? And we're about to get the answer to that. And ask yourself another question: has this been said about any other people? And you might say, well, no, of course not, because what? Okay, other nations have been in power. Okay, you'd had plenty of other powers before this. Let's just go with some of the big ones. You had ancient Egypt. Okay, they were like what you would call a world power, a world superpower back during that time. Okay, this wasn't said about them. And then you had what? You had the Assyrians. Same thing. This wasn't said about them. Now they did wicked, but what we're about to read about the Edomites, that was not said about anybody. You can move on to the Babylonians, the Neo-Babylonians. Wasn't said about them either. Okay, then you can move on from them to the Medo-Persian Empire. Wasn't said about either of them. Okay, it's one empire, they ruled together, but it wasn't said about the Medes or the Persians. Okay, all right. So here it is. You've had these other empires, what the world will call superpowers today, and probably other, kind of like regular, mid-level powers. And this was never said about any other nation or any other people. But then when the Greeks get into power, and everybody knows that they're the biblical Edomites, when the biblical Edomites get in power for the first time, this is what the Bible says about them. Okay? And after his death, Alexander the Great, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them, talking about his 4 main generals. After them, many years, and what happened? What happens with the Edomites, the Idumeans, ruling as the Greeks? They weren't the original Greeks. They're not true to Greeks, but they're ruling as the Greeks because they took them down. What happened when they got in power the first time? And evils were multiplied. What does multiplied means? Look, evils were increased when others were in power, but they weren't multiplied. Take out multiplied and put in what it really means. Evils were greatly increased in the earth, not just increased. Evils weren't going sideways, maintaining, or maybe a slight little trickle up. No, evils were greatly increased in the earth when the Edomites got in power. And that is because, did we finish that Daniel 7? We'll come right back to it. That is because Malachi 1 and 4. Right? Let's get 3 and 4. And I hated Esau. This is the Most High speaking through the prophet Malachi. Malachiah in the Hebrew. Okay? And I hated Esau. The Most High hates Esau. He hates the Edomites. And he ain't changed. Malachi 3 and 6. St. James 1 and 17. Okay? And laid his mountains and his heritage, his kingdoms, and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. He destroyed it. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished. Yeah, the biblical Edomites. That would be today the so-called white man, generally speaking. Whereas, and I say generally speaking because not every so-called white person is an Edomite. And not all Edomites look like so-called white people. But that is the normal way for them to look, pursuant to Genesis 25 and 25. The Most High set it up that way. You can put that with Isaiah 1 and 18 and Revelation 6 and 4. Okay? To get some further understanding. The Most High, and you can put that with 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. Okay, and the Most High set it up that way. Okay, he made this man the color of sin. Okay, and that goes back to Genesis 4:16, 15 or 16, one of the two. okay, to get the full understanding. I'm not getting all into that because I'm already deep into some stuff I didn't intend to get into, and I wanted to get into Revelation 14 tonight, so we'll see. All right, whereas Edom saith, the biblical Edomites, it's really about bloodlines, but that is the normal way they look. Okay, nations are according to bloodlines, not skin color, not physical characteristics. However, there are normal physical characteristics that are typical to each nation. Okay, but you can't go off of that because you can mix genetics. Okay, and genetics, which impact what you look like, they can be mixed, and so you can change here and there what a nation looks like. Okay, but by and large, the nation's going to still generally look the same overall, but you can change that with individuals and maybe even swaths of individuals. Like, for example, you got a lot of Israelites scattered to the four corners of the earth that don't look nothing like so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, but their bloodlines, their lineage, their heritage, their bloodline through their fathers still goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because you cannot mix bloodlines. Bloodlines which are passed down through the fathers are always pure and have zero to do with genetics. Okay, so you can mix the genetics all day long, generation upon generation upon generation, and you will change very dramatically if you stay on it what a nation or what an individual looks like. Okay, but that blood flowing through their veins, passed down through their fathers, is always pure. So no matter what they look like, they're still of the same nation of their fathers. See, so these Edomites here, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished. Okay, Salakia for the helicopter overhead. But we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build. But we're living in what they've built. This is I told you, the revived Roman Empire. But I will throw down. The Most High is getting ready to cast it down, and while he's getting ready to fill his belly. What's that? Job, the 20th chapter. And they shall call them, the biblical Edomites, the bloodline descendants of Esau, the so-called white man, so-called because he's not white, he's red, the so-called white man, generally speaking, what are we going to call them? The border of wickedness. That means as far as their borders advance, wickedness advances. And that's the reason why when we're over here, it says, and when the Greeks got into power, I don't want to call them the Greeks, I'm going to call them who they truly are. When the Edomites got in power, the Idumeans, the Edomites got into power for the first time on any significant level, evils were multiplied in the earth. Their borders advanced, wickedness, evil advanced. And that's the reason why, because they are the border. This is the Most High speaking. You can argue with them if you like. Okay, I don't suggest it though. I don't recommend it though. You are going to get put down and brutally and hard. The border of wickedness and the people, the family, the nation, all synonymous in this context. The people, family, nation, against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. Okay? Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they are the border of wickedness, and that's the reason why when they got empowered the first time as the Greeks, wickedness was greatly multiplied on the earth, and the same thing occurred when they ruled as the Romans. No need to say it; you've already said it. Okay, you roll right in from the Greek Empire right into the Roman Empire, and guess what? Today, same thing, even worse. And you go here, it's the same thing. That's the reason why it's time for another death. That's the reason why we're in the time of the second death. Okay? And I'm going to show you this real quick. That's the reason. What I'm about to read to you right here is because the Edomites are in control. And they have absolutely, completely, and totally corrupted and saturated the whole planet with evil and wickedness. Okay? Behold, saith the Adawan, I will bring plagues. We're living in them. That's the reason why everything that can go wrong on planet Earth is going wrong and getting worse by the day. Okay, including this, the latest major end-time biblical prophecy to manifest, which is the Third World War. Okay, and which is intensified by the fighting between America, Babylon the Great, and Amalek over there in the land of Israel, calling themselves Israelis, which are the lead tribe of Esau, Edom, attacking the biblical Persians, which is Iran. Which is Revelation 9 and 12, leading into Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past. Behold, the third woe, the third world war, the third woe, the third world war cometh quickly. So quickly, in fact, that is here. Okay? Behold, saith the Adawan, I will bring plagues upon the world. We're in the plagues. And they're going to do nothing but continue to ramp up and intensify rapidly and dramatically. The sword. Okay? You see that. Okay? all over the place. Sword in the home, sword in the streets, sword in the city, sword in the states or provinces, sword in the nations, sword around the world. Famine. The United Nations has been warning of famines of biblical proportion for years now. Okay? And keep in mind, famines can be mild, moderate, or severe. And there's two ways to have a famine. One way to have a famine is a lack of food and water, or food, bread and water. The other way is for it to be priced out of your reach. How would you like to have both? That's what this world's getting. Death. All manners of death and destruction. Yeah, those last two are broad categories. Okay? The Most High is bringing these plagues upon the world right now, and he's going to ramp them up rapidly and dramatically. And why? For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth. That's why. Wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth. And why has wickedness exceedingly polluted the whole earth? Because we're in the revived Roman Empire. Who rules the revived Roman Empire? The biblical Edomites, the same one that ruled the first Roman Empire. And they are the what? Border of wickedness. And this time the revived Roman Empire is what? Worldwide. Wasn't the ancient Roman Empire worldwide? No, it was regional. Okay? The revived Roman Empire is worldwide. So their borders are now what? Worldwide. So wickedness is doing what? Wickedness is expanding. Has expanded worldwide. See? And this is why. And their hurtful works are fulfilled. Okay? And so it's time for a death. The second death. There's only two of them. First death, the flood, water. Second death, thermonuclear fire. Fire. Thermonuclear fire. Okay? It's time for it. Okay? So, I didn't mean to get into it in that much detail, but everything's subject to the spirit, right? Spirit is like the wind, but it means we're at the end. That's what this means for you. And it also means get ready for the draft. Okay? And they're already talking about it more and more and more. They're kicking it around. They already know they're going to do it. Why are they kicking it around? Why are they playing monkey games? Why are they, I don't see a reason to do it now, but if we need to, we're going to do whatever it takes. Why they do? Because they getting you ready for it. It's already the plan. The decision was already made long ago. They know what they're going to do, but they know that certain things are going to get a lot of pushback. So they kind of kick it around, let you get used to the idea. Oh, no, we're not. Oh, maybe we might do it if we have to, but I don't think we're going to have to. Okay, just a few troops, okay, and then boom, the floodgates are open. Okay? And everybody that goes over there, you ain't coming back. The only way you're going to come back is the Most High pulls you back. He has some great favor on you, has you get injured over there, and then you get sent back home. But that may not even be to your benefit. All right? If you're, and I'm only talking about Israelites. Okay? Everybody else, just forget it. Okay? But if the Most High has favor on you and has you get injured or something like that, or have you get sent back or something like that, then the question then is, are you of the elect? Because he may have you get sent back just to roast you in the lake of fire. Or Yahweh, he sends you back because you're going to get deliverance and salvation. But if you're going to get deliverance and salvation, the Most High is probably not going to let you go over there in the first place. Okay? But I can't say that for sure. The Most High does like drama, so he may have somebody go over there and then yank you out of there at the last minute and and put you in the truth, right? Okay, so Yahweh, that'd be the case for anybody that's over there. But you don't want to be going. You don't want to get sent over to the Western Asia, the Middle East. Okay, because the vast majority. Okay, now I'm just going to speak generally here, man, because unless the Most High intervenes, everybody that goes over there, they're going to take a permanent dirt nap. They're going to become one with the soil. Okay, so get ready for the draft. I'm gonna get you a quick precept on that before we get into. I'm gonna make a brief comment on the video clips I played, and then we're gonna get into 2nd Esdras 15, which is sending us over to Revelation 14. All right, Yahweh, it's time for all that. But let me get you a quick precept on the draft. Okay, and when I covered this in part 1, we also went to Isaiah 3, and I want to say 25 and 26, and rolled right into 4 and 1 and 2. But I'm just gonna get this one right here. Okay. This is 2nd Esdras 16, very extremely heavy prophetic chapter. Start at 1, go down to, 77, 78? 78, there it is. You can't stop. There's no place to stop, okay? Let's get this here. Okay. And the earth, the what? The earth shall be laid waste. That's the time we're in. That's how this is all going to end. I told you, we're in the time of the second death, thermonuclear fire. And the fields thereof shall wax old. Bring in Isaiah 24:6. And her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel there through. Why? What happened to all the men? Okay. Well, I told you, read the whole chapter. The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For how many? How much? How many other places? All places shall be what? Desolate of men. In other words, our Father Yahweh is getting ready to give this whole world as a ransom for his elect, in exchange for his elect. He's about to destroy this whole world system and all the nations of the earth to deliver and save us. And what does that mean? That means that he's about to kill off almost everybody on planet Earth. That doesn't mean there won't be millions of people left on the planet, but it means that population-wise, the percentage of the population that's going to survive is going to be extremely low. Extremely low. Keep in mind, there's like 8.5 billion, whatever it is. Let's just estimate 8.5 billion people on the planet. 1% is 85 million. And I am of the mind that it's going to be less than 1%. It may be 1.5%, 1.25%. It may be 2%. Ooh, 2%. It may be 2.5%. I doubt it, though. I don't think it'll get that high based off of the examples, especially like here in 2 Corinthians 16. I'm of the mind that it's going to be less than 1%. You know, couple million, 10 million, 15, 20 million. If it's like 30, 40, 50 million, you're still less than 1%. But in my estimation, that's a lot. I don't think it's going to be that many. I think it's going to be a lot less than 1%. Okay. I think it's going to be somewhere around, to me, you know, I'm on the high end. I think maybe 10 to 20 million. This is a guess. I don't know for sure. But when you read the scriptures, it's very low. And you did just pay attention to that scripture right there in verse 26. All places shall be desolate of men. Okay. And it tells you in Isaiah 24:6 that there will be few men left on the earth. So, you know, and keep in mind that for the purposes of some people surviving, you can accomplish those purposes. You can fulfill those purposes with really hundreds of thousands. Okay. But a few million. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5 million, 10 million. And you good. You got it. You good. Okay. It doesn't have to get up into the 20s and 30s and 40 and 50s, 60, 70, 80 million, which all those numbers are still less than 1%. Okay. The point is, okay, you're going to have a number that you would think is big, but in comparison to the current world population, it's going to be very small. Very small. All places shall be desolate of men. Imagine that, man. Let's just go with the 1%. 99% of the world population wiped out. Okay. And spread all over the earth. Okay. 99% of the world population. I remember somebody saying that you could take everybody on earth. I can't remember exactly what it was. But I'm going to get in the ballpark so that you can get the idea. You can take everybody on planet Earth, all 8+ billion people on planet Earth, give everybody a half of an acre. It might have been an acre. Let's just go with a half of an acre. You can take all 8+ billion people on planet Earth, give them a half an acre each, and you could fit everybody. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'm going to just say in a geographical location the size of Texas. That's what you could do. Okay. That's what everybody that's on the planet right now. Okay. Imagine if you wiped out 90 and the rest of the earth is nobody's there. The rest of the earth, nobody's there. Okay. You can fit everybody in a place the size of Texas, and everybody has their own half acre or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly what it was. Okay. And I also can't remember the particulars about the location either, but you get the idea of the point that was being made. Okay. And people talk about the earth is overpopulated. Okay. The Most High said, be fruitful and multiply. Right. So no, the Most High didn't make no mistake. He's, be fruitful and multiply to a certain point, but then after that, it's too many people, so that's it. You know, gonna have to put you on a what they do over in China. You're going to put you on a I forget what they call it, where they limit the number of births and all that. But you know, once you reach a certain, no, the Most High didn't make no mistakes, man. Okay, the earth is all fucked up because the man in control of the earth is destroying the earth. Okay, the earth, it doesn't have any problem supporting and taking care of, so to speak, quote unquote, taking care of or supporting, it's a better way to put it, 8+ billion people, man. No problem. Okay? You wait until you see how many people are going to fit on planet Earth in the kingdom of heaven and going to thrive at that. Okay? So my point is, if you can fit everybody on planet Earth now in a state or a location, for example, say the size of Texas, and everybody has their own acre, then and the rest of the earth is empty, then imagine how empty the earth is going to be when it's like 99% of the world population wiped out. For all places shall be desolate of men. Okay? That's the time we're in. But here, I want to show you this. The virgin shall mourn. Let's get 32. And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel there through. And you know why? Because all places are desolate of men. So very, very few men left on planet Earth. That's where all this is going. That's how all this is going to end, due to the second death, which is the thermonuclear destruction. The virgins, the young women of marriageable age, okay, flower of their age and up, flower of the age, you know what the flower of the age is, reaching the menstrual cycle, shall mourn. And if you need more on that, go to, is that 1 Corinthians 7? Yes, 7, the 7th chapter, okay? He sinneth not, let him marry, okay? The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. What happened to them? They got drafted. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers, meaning men to marry. Okay, what happened? They got drafted. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed. They got drafted. Okay, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Ezekiel 7 and 15. Is it 7 and 15? Yeah, 7 and 15. Ezekiel 7 and 15. Okay, so that's what it means to you. Okay, all right. The third world war is here. Ramping up, intensifying, it's going to culminate in climax in all-out thermonuclear war. But before it does, and it's coming fast, that's coming fast, but before it reaches that climax of all-out thermonuclear destruction, okay, you want to go to Revelation 3 and 10, because this has to happen first, because if the world's already destroyed, then this can't happen. So obviously this has to happen before that. So if the thermonuclear destruction is coming so very, very, very fast, and it is, then whatever has to happen before it has to be even coming faster than that. And it is. And that would be the hour of temptation, which is when they make the Revelation 13 badge, verses 16 through 18. We use the acronym MOT to the capital B, the Ark of the East, put an M on that Ark and a B on that East. I also call it the beast rice, because they always compare it to the size of a grain of rice. That has to be coming even faster. And it is. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour, this is a metaphoric hour, meaning a relatively brief period of time, of temptation, which shall come upon all the world. Now, if you've been watching and paying attention, you know that there's been 3 different Greek words translated to the same English word world, and they all have different meanings. So anytime you see world, kind of like Gentiles, foreigners, heathens, and strangers, you always got to make sure you know which group it's talking about, okay? Sometimes the Hebrew word will help you out on that, okay, specifically with foreigners and strangers, okay? The Hebrew word, there is a particular Hebrew word that's always, when you see it, always talking about Israelites. And then there's another Hebrew word that's most of the time talking about natural born foreigners and strangers. See, so it'll help you a little bit. But with the New Testament, with heathen and Gentiles, you just got to have the understanding. Okay. Well, the word world, it has 3 Greek words translated, and here's one of them, oikomene, right? And it also has cosmos, and it also has aeon, Aeon meaning a period of time, a cosmos meaning an apt and harmonious arrangement, order, constitution, government. And that's what's used in John 3:16 because it's only talking about the apt and harmonious arrangement of Israel, the apt and harmonious arrangement of Israel, the order of Israel, the constitution or makeup of Israel, the government of Israel. That's what it's talking about. It's not oikumene like here. Oikumene is the Greek word that means the whole earth, the whole planet, and everybody on it. The inhabited earth. Let's get straight to the nitty gritty. The whole inhabited earth, the world, the inhabitants of the earth, men. This is not the word used in John 3:16 because John 3:16 isn't talking about everybody. It's only talking about Israel. All right. But this right here, this is talking about this hour of temptation is talking about the whole world, the whole earth, oikumene. And we just looked it up and proved it. Okay. People love to just make words mean whatever they want them to mean, whatever is convenient for them, whatever fits their paradigm, their preconceived notion. Okay. You know, whether it's true or not, who cares whether it's true? This is what I believe. This is what I think it means. And so that must be what it means. No, you got to look the word up. Okay. And then here in this case, the line upon line, the wording of this of the rest of the verse makes it clear. But look it up anyway, because it's good practice to do it. But when you read the rest of the verse, the context makes it clear that this is talking about the whole planet. Okay? To try them, test them that dwell upon the earth. So, for that reason, this is something that has to be pushed on the whole world. Well, how's that going to be done if the world's already destroyed by thermonuclear fire? Okay? Not every place on the earth is going to be on fire, but America, Babylon the Great will be completely and totally and utterly. Every square inch. Land of Israel, completely and totally and utterly. Every square inch. And then various other places where the Edomites are at, okay? Various other places will be hit, and they will be on thermonuclear fire as well, but they will not be completely and totally consumed like America and Israel, the land of Israel, okay? All right? But when that happens, the whole world is that's when the thrones are cast down. That's when the times of the Gentiles is at a very end. They're in their last fleeting seconds right now. Okay? But this is going to be a worldwide temptation, a worldwide test, a worldwide hour of temptation. And that has to happen before the thermonuclear destruction. That has to happen before the second death. So if the second death, the thermonuclear destruction is bearing down on this world, and it is, then this has to be coming even faster than that. And it is. So that's one thing. This is coming soon. This is coming real soon. Okay? So that's one thing you're going to be looking out for. This has to happen first. And don't look at it as, the thermonuclear destruction is going to be held up for. No, thermonuclear destruction is coming fast. Zephaniah 1:14. Keep going to the end of the chapter. That just means that this has to be coming very much faster. That just means this is that much closer. Okay? And then there's another thing you need to look out for. 1 Thessalonians. Yeah, I hit it right. 5. Okay? Straight to the point. For when they shall say peace and safety, most often I hear stability and security, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Okay? So look for it. Look for some type of collective sigh of relief. Oh, okay, everything's going to be better now. Whether it's because everybody's taking the charagma. Okay, now that we took the charagma, now we can finally go back to normal. Oh, look at that. You know, the Israelis and America, Babylon the Great, biblical Amalekites over there in the land of Israel, and America, Babylon the Great, the Edomites here, they've struck some kind of deal with Iran. Oh, everything's good now. Oh, Russia this, and everybody's getting along. Everybody's sitting in a circle holding hands saying kumbaya. Oh, the economies of the world are doing so much better now. Oh, you know, whatever infection that was running through the world scaring everybody. Oh, there's a shoulder pop. We all drink it and whatever, or all of the above. They're gonna, in some way, shape, fashion, or form, breathe a collective sigh of relief and shout peace and safety, stability and security, whatever words they want to use, and then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child. That's serious. Okay. You hear sometimes they used to say it's serious as a heart attack. It's serious as a woman in the depths and throes of hardcore labor. You know, the labor that's right before she gives birth and right in the midst of giving birth. Yeah, that's what it's like. And they shall not escape. Okay, it's going to be utter destruction, sudden destruction. See? So look for these two things. Okay, now with that, let's get back into 2 Esdras 15. And just a little quick recap. Okay, we started over here in 27. Actually, this past weekend, was it last weekend? Yes, this past weekend we backed it up and got, I can't remember if we backed it up to 20 or 21. It might have been 22, somewhere around there. And then we went forward. But 27 is where we're really digging in. No, I meant to say 28. 28 is where we're really digging in. Okay? I'm in the wrong chapter. 15. That's why it was hard for me to figure out where I started. Um, 20. Yep. We started at 20 this past weekend. And then we went down. But 28 is where we're really digging in. And in 28, I'm just going to give you the key here, give you the code, the decoder ring, okay? Because we've already covered this. We're actually in verse 36. That's what's sending us over to Revelation 14. So we're going to go over there, but I'm going to give you a quick recap, okay? The nations of the dragons of Arabia, that's the biblical Ishmaelites. And that's your various different Arab nations over there, not the Elamites. And I want to say, unless I'm mistaken, not the Pakistanis either. I think I might have said not the Elamites. I meant to say not the Iranians, because the Iranians, they go back to Elam. They're not an Ishmael. They're not descendants of Ishmael. They're descendants of Elam. Okay, and I think so are the Pakistanis as well, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I might be mistaken on that one though. But Elam is the East Indians, and the biblical Persians, which is Iran, they are descendants of Elam as well. The nation of India and the nation of Iran, those are brothers. They both go back to Elam, and I think Pakistan does as well. Okay, so not them. They're not the dragons of Arabia. They are the dragons of Arabia are the other nations over there, which are descendants of Ishmael. Okay, and they're going to come out with many chariots, vehicles of modern warfare, and the multitude of them. I'm just giving you the decoder ring. You can check out the previous parts to get more on it. Okay, they're not going to be alone though. They're coming with the Carmanians. You see the Carmanians there. The Carmanians are the modern day Iranians. All right. So that's Iran. Okay, so Iran is going to hook up with the Ishmaelite nations over there, and that should be no surprise because all of Iran's proxies are Ishmaelite nations, like Yemen. You got the Houthis down there in Yemen, and you got Hezbollah up there in Lebanon, and then you got the Palestinians as well in the Gaza Strip, right? Okay, I meant to say Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Okay, which they're pretty much beat down, but I think they're still kicking though. And then you might have another one or two, okay? But that's Iran already, the biblical Persians already, the Carmanians already linked up with the Ishmaelites. And that's just going to intensify, and they're going to gather up together, and they're going to come out, and it says they're going to waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The Assyrians, the modern day Assyrians, that's talking about America, Babylon the Great, okay? And so we got down here. And then, it says in verse 33, and from the land of the Assyrians, America, Babylon the Great, shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them. So America is going to get its licks in. And in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. And then it says, behold, clouds from the east and from the north. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south. And they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. Now, what are these clouds that it's talking about? Let me read that again. 2 Esdras 15 and 34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. I'm going to get your precept on that before we get the answer to what those clouds are. If you've been watching the other parts, you already know. Okay, let's go to Joel 2. Joel 2. Yeah. And like, let me see here, maybe 30. Something like that. 29, 30. 30. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Okay, see? It says over here, what? Clouds. Okay, you get pillars, and you go to Acts 2, 17 and 18 over there. It says vapors of smoke. You get into these words, pillars and vapors, and one of the synonyms is clouds. Clouds or pillars of smoke. Okay? Pillar, column. Okay, you get over there into the Acts. Let's take a look at the Acts. I'm just showing you what this is talking about. And it says here, instead of pillars, it says vapor, right? But when you, look at the NLT. It tells you right there, clouds of smoke. So when we go back over here and it says, behold, clouds from the east and from the north and unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. What is this talking about? Well, you're about to get a visual right here.
At least 1 ton designed to overwhelm defenses. Here's a report.
Yeah, that's what it's talking about right there. Vapors of smoke, pillars of smoke, columns of smoke. That's what it's talking about right there. From all the bombs and the missiles. Okay, this is from the Third World War, as it's being waged leading up to the climax, which is the thermonuclear destruction. Okay. They shall smite one upon another. It's going to be back and forth. And they shall smite down a great multitude of stars, meaning their various different military officials upon the earth, even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly, and dung of men unto the camel's hoo, which the camel's hoo is like the camel's knee. That's what it's basically talking about. Okay. Which is going to be a couple of feet up, okay, depending on, how big the camel is, what type of camel it is. So a dung of men unto the camel's hoo. That's where the camel, when it's walking, that's where it, you would call it a knee. That's where the middle of the leg, okay, where the leg bends, not the ankle, not down low, not up high with it. Although some places do say that it's the hip when you look it up, okay, but most commonly it's referred to as the knee. So like the middle of the leg section for the camel. Okay. Dung of men unto the camel's hoo. Okay. Blood shall be from the sword unto the belly. Okay. And let's bring in Jeremiah 25 and like 31 or 33. This right here ties very, very beautifully into Revelation 14. So I'm gonna show you what I wanted to show you, but I'm also gonna read you just 30 here. Okay, man. See, yeah. Okay. Let me see here. Actually, let me see. I don't think I see here what I was coming for. Actually, let me see here. Oh, that's why I wasn't going down far enough. But let's just read this whole section here, man. Okay. Therefore, prophesy thou against them all these words. The them is all the nations of the world. That's who the them is. The them is all the heathen nations. Okay? I beheld till the thrones were cast down, till the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. We're at the end of it right now. The them is everybody on this planet that's not Israel. Okay? And for those of the nation of Israel that want to be joined unto the heathen, they're going to get it with them. All these words, and say unto them, Yahweh shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation. He shall give a shout as they that tread the grapes. You can put with this, what's that? Oh man, it's escaping me right now. Let me see here. I want to get it now. I want to refresh my memory on where it's at. Let's see if it brings it up. No. Let's see here. Let me see here. See if this brings it up. Otherwise, I'll just paraphrase and keep moving. Look it up some other time. Yeah, Isaiah 42. I have long time holding my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. This is talking from the perspective of Yahushai. Okay? Mocked, ridiculed, side pierced, crucified, beaten beyond recognition. Okay? He was more marred. His visage was more marred than any other man. And he's had to wait 2,000 years, which is just 2 days in the spiritual realm. 2 Peter 3:8, and the 90th Psalm as well. But he's been waiting to come and get his retribution. Okay, that's what this is talking about. He's been waiting these 2,000 years, these 2 days, to get his retribution. I have long time holding my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. He's going to let out one hell of a war cry. One hell of a war cry like this world has never heard. Okay, that's what it's saying. So you can bring that in. Isaiah 42:14, right? Okay, he shall give a shout. Okay, now this is spoken from the perspective of the Most High, but the Most High is sending Yahushai, his only begotten son, his top representative. Okay, so that's why it's being said that the Most High is doing it. But the Most High is not doing it himself. He is going to come, and his spirit is going to be in the missiles. He's going to personally guide the missiles, but he's sending his top representative to do this killing. He shall give a shout as they that tread the grapes. Against who? All the inhabitants of the earth. In case you didn't believe me at the top of the verse, when we get to the bottom of the verse, there it is. A noise, and that ties directly into Revelation 14 and Joel, the 3rd chapter. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth. For Yahweh hath a bone to pick. That's what this means. An axe to grind. That's what this means. A controversy with who? The nations. And you already know it's all of them because we just read it. All the inhabitants of the earth. He will plead, meaning execute judgment, meaning punish with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, behold, evil shall go from nation to nation, not skipping a one. No rain checks. No rain checks, no bypassing. Nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coast of the earth, all nations. And the slain of Yahweh, in that day, those Yahweh has slaughtered, will fill the earth. Yes. I told you, he's getting ready to give this whole world as a ransom for his elect. He's getting ready to give this whole world in exchange for his elect. He's about to destroy this whole world, meaning the nations of the earth and much of the earth itself. But the earth will survive and it will be refreshed. It will be restored to a state of paradise, even better than it was at creation, right? But it's about to get rocked and it's about to get devastated first. Okay? Okay? And the slain of Yahweh shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. Bringing the 110th Psalm. Going to fill the places with the dead bodies. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. Why? Because there's nobody to bury them. They shall be dung upon the ground. And we know from 2 Esdras 15 that the dung of men is going to be up to the camel's who? Which is the camel's knee. Okay, and the blood, what did it say over there about the blood? In verse 35 rather, shall be from the sword unto the belly. Okay? But let's read this here before we go over to Revelation 14. Okay? Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, Yahweh shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation. He shall give a shout as they that tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. What do the inhabitants of the earth have to do with grapes? The inhabitants of the earth, all of them, they are the grapes. Revelation 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud. And upon the cloud, this cloud is a metaphor for what the world calls UFOs and UAPs, which are the chariots. Hebrew word, marakab yum to make it plural. Okay, the chariots or vehicles of the spiritual realm. What the world calls UFOs and UAPs. This right here is Yahawashi, Hamashiach. Okay, who's going to let out that hell of a war cry like this world has never heard or imagined. That's why he's like unto the Son of Man. This is Yahawashi coming back on a massive, massive chariot, a massive, massive vehicle of the spiritual realm. Okay, so massive, it's going to block out the whole expanse of the sky. It was mistaken by the prophet Esdras as a mountain in 2 Esdras 13. Having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. What's he going to do with that sickle? And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap. What's he going to reap with that sickle? For the harvest of the earth is ripe. Whatever he's going to reap is filling the earth. It's all over the earth. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And that's how he's filling the places with the dead bodies. And the siren is right on time. The 110th Psalm, that's Yahawashi. He shall wound the heads over many nations. He shall drink of the brook in the way. Okay? And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar which had power over fire, the thermonuclear destruction, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, which is talking about the nations, the families of the earth. For her grapes are fully ripe. What do you mean they're fully ripe? Wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled, fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress. I told you, the people are the grapes of the wrath of the Most High Yahweh. And the winepress, this is the time we're in. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horses' bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. Over there in the NLT, that tells you that's 180 miles. Okay? This is all metaphoric, but it's metaphoric to communicate there's going to be a mass slaughter on planet Earth by the Most High through his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. A mass slaughter on the earth. The place is going to be filled with the dead bodies. Nobody to bury him. Okay? Blood all over the place. Okay? Bloodshed. Much bloodshed. Okay? And that's the reason why the metaphoric picture here is presented, that blood is flowing up to the horse's bridle. The blood is flowing so deep that if a horse was standing in it, it would go up to the horse's bridle. You know, maybe that's like what, 4 or 5 feet, something like that, 4 feet, let's say. Okay. And it's 180 miles long, blood flowing 180 miles long, 4 feet deep or so, which ties back into the 2nd Esdras 15, where it says, they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly. Because they're smiting down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, and dung of men unto the camel's who. This is talking about upon the earth. You can bring in Isaiah 34 as well. Okay, and other precepts also. Okay, and that's why we had to go to the Revelation 14, and we got the other precepts, and there's also Joel 3, which talks about the same thing. Okay, and the Jeremiah 25, right, and whatever else we got, the Joel 2 as well. All right, and so now we're going to come back here. All right, but we're done tonight. But then we're going to come back here, and we're going to continue on at 37 and get all the way down to 45. And we could keep going. Okay? Because it gets into Asia, which is really focusing in on Moab, the greatest. Okay? Because the things that are being said here are really applied most directly to Moab, which is modern day China. All right? And you can bring in Taiwan too, because Taiwan is part of China. Okay, the Taiwanese, they are Moabites as well. Okay, and this applies most directly to them. Right. So, yeah, we're going to come back here, pick up at 37, and we're going down to 44, 45. We'll stop there. Well, I don't know. The Spirit may have us get into 46 and keep going a little bit more, but my plan is to stop at like 44, 45. So, Yahweh, this was edifying to you. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Before I do, I want to give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shabbat, Rachak, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, respect to the brothers teaching, pushing this truth throughout the four corners of the earth. Yahweh, this lesson was edifying and encouraging to you Achim, and any Achwaf that may be listening and or watching. Ayash miyakwana, azanyim l'shamai shamai. Let him who has ears to hear. Kwam yasharala, babakusha abad babal aitha, wakal adawam. Shalom lahabachayim, peace to the elect. Shalom.